here, Iron Direct Primary Care, and we are going to be doing a transparency video here about pricing, lab pricing in particular. I get patients that come to me and they say, I want to use my insurance because I've paid into the system for all these years. I have a premium of about $800 a month. I want to use my insurance to pay for labs. Or maybe you've gone to a doctor before and you're like, oh, my other doctor, he took my insurance and he billed my insurance for my labs. Well, your doctor, what did he order you? He ordered you a CBC. That's about $2.30. He ordered you a TSH. That's about $1.50. A CMP, $1.70. He ordered you a useless lipid panel. That's about $3. Vitamin D, that's not covered under your insurance. Your insurance company won't pay for that, so we can't order that. That's what you get with your insurance. If you come to Iron Direct Primary Care, we have cash rates negotiated, where LabCorp bills me, the clinic, and then I will invoice my patient later. And I don't upcharge my patient. I just have a $10 administration fee that we need to do to cover some overhead. So I'm going to go through and show you what these costs really are. So an iron plus total iron binding concentration and total iron is about $4. CBC, $2.30. Ferritin, $2.20. A1C, $3.20. Your insurance covers that, right? $3.20. It's nothing. Vitamin B12, $4.30. Vitamin D that your insurance company doesn't want to pay for is $13. NMR lipid profile. So lipoprotein for subfractionation. These new tests that look at the density, the size of the lipid particle numbers, looks at the number of lipid particle numbers. These tests that a lot of clinicians will say, oh, it's too unaffordable. That's why we can't order these tests. It's $26. Full thyroid panel, $21.25. We don't just order a TSH at Iron Direct Primary Care. It's a waste of time. If you have a provider who's just monitoring a TSH to screen you for thyroid disease, to monitor you for synthroid or natural thyroid titration, fire them. It is useless. It is a useless marker. Fasting insulin, $3.80. I love fasting insulin. Probably one of the best markers of metabolic health. Forget lipid panels. Let's look at a little bit more advanced stuff, right? Let's look at my most advanced one. I have this for, my bodybuilder order set. Okay, we have some crazy stuff here. So bodybuilders, big muscle mass, you need to order a Cystatin C. Now this should be standard of care for any order set, right? If you just order a CMP, it's going to come with a creatinine. This is an old school marker of kidney function. Big bodybuilder guys are going to have a creatinine that's abnormal. It's going to be in the red range. Doesn't mean they're dying, but you need to order a Cystatin C to actually do the proper GFR calculation to get a real result on a big guy. So $45 cost, that's what a bodybuilder, somebody with bigger muscle mass, has to do. Let's see, what else do we have here that's pretty cool? LH and FSH, precursors to a lot of sex hormones, $6.40. Sex hormone binding globulin, kind of an interesting test there, $8.50. DHEAS, this is a marker in anti-aging medicine that we look at for anti-aging purposes. It's known as an anti-aging medication supplement. Really, it's over the counter in the U.S. here. Monitoring this to see if patients may benefit from supplementation as they age to help support natural hormone production. We have estradiol. This is E2, LCMS. It's about $22. So, this can add up. We're going to add on a DHT, dihydrotestosterone, right? That's what you have too high of that in a woman. You're going to get cystic acne. Too high in a male, you're going to have hair loss, maybe enlarged prostate. So kind of a useful marker to look at, even though it's a bit more expensive. LCMS, total and free testosterone, $17. That's a pretty great deal for an LCMS, which is kind of a higher end laboratory analysis for hormones. Progesterone, not LCMS, mind you, just $6.40. PSA with reflex free. Obviously, you're monitoring that if you have a high DHT, $6.40. ApoB and ApoA. So these are new markers for cardiovascular disease, supposedly, right? There's going to make new videos on that. You should stay tuned for that. But, the big argument against them is they're too expensive. $5.50. That's cheaper than a beer. CRP, a pretty important inflammatory molecule that I look at, about $5.30. ESR, $1.90. D-dimer, right? So we're seeing this elevated. It's a clotting marker. People with blood clots, pulmonary embolism. This has been a traditional screening for those, right? I'm using it to look at my long haulers, my jab injured patients. They do have higher tendency towards a chronically elevated D-dimer levels. And I use this as a marker to monitor if my treatment, my protocols are working to decrease their inflammation, decrease their clot risk. So as you can see, it's pretty affordable. So another lab that I order is salivary hormone testing. So if we want to be looking at DHTA, all estrogens, so E1, 2, and 3, DHEAS, testosterone, progesterone, you want to really look at all hormones. It's actually cheaper to go with a salivary hormone because Access Labs is kind of the expert on that. You can do a full hormone salivary panel for, it's about $100, and you get all those markers, and you can see DHT and testosterone. They'll add up to over 100 if you do a serum analysis. So might make more sense to use salivary. We'll be doing more videos comparing salivary to serum analysis because there's sometimes some confusion there. So stay tuned for those. But overall, I mean, you can get a lot of value through what I have here. And these are unique rates negotiated with Iron Direct Primary Care. You can't get this anywhere else. But you know, these order sets pretty cheap. You know, it's not worth it going through your insurance. And I've done it for patients before. They begged me, let me go through my insurance. Fine, they'll get a bill for $2,500. Now, obviously, I can try to fix that. I can ask my representative at LabCorp to convert that to a client bill, meaning they bill me instead at my rate, and then I can invoice my patient later. But it's still such a big hassle. I just avoid skipping it. If you want to go through your insurance, great. They're going to give you a CBC, a CMP, and an A1C. It's about $10 worth of tests. Right? If you really want to look at your health, you shouldn't cheap out on your health, right? You want to look at cystatin C. You want to look at thyroid peroxidase, T4, T3. You want to look at these things in detail. Cash, that's your option. So I hope this was kind of interesting, kind of a revelation. You might be a bit disappointed at your insurance, maybe disappointed at previous providers. You know, they can't order this stuff because they're kind of stuck in the insurance-based system. They have to do what insurance dictates. So they have to just order the basic stuff, and they're missing stuff out there. They're missing really bad thyroid disease, right? So you can order this TPO and this thyroid antibody. This is going to be elevated about 7 years before a patient develops full-blown Hashimoto's thyroiditis or Graves' disease. If you're just tracking a TSH, TSH is going to be normal 7 years before Hashimoto's. It might be a bit higher, maybe 3.54. If you're not looking at everything else, looking at a very small part of the overall picture of thyroid health. Plenty of times I've seen a normal TSH, even a normal T4 and T3, but their antibodies are very elevated. And I tell the patient, I'm like, look, we can make the right lifestyle changes now so you don't destroy your thyroid 7 years down the road. That's huge. Imagine the cost savings associated with that, not having to be on thyroid replacement the rest of your life. Right? Spend the money. It's worth it. Hope you guys enjoyed this lecture. I'll see you all next time.